couple Thai places here in Tulsa that I prefer to go to. They're family owned, and I don't
Ooh.
know if they have coffee or not, but that sounds intriguing. Like, I want some of that now. Iced
Yeah, it sounds good. I
coffee.
can drink a lot of them. Like I'll drink way more coffee if it's got the sweet cream in it. Or there's also the Thai tea, which has a
Ooh,
flavor that
yeah.
I don't know what to call the flavor, but you know it when you taste it, and it's so good. It's really good.
Yeah, it's like it is a special spice that they put in it, and it's undescribable. It's so good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I prefer black, like, usually, and also a fun fact about me, um, on a typical, like, regular week, if I've got no meetings, nothing happening, if I'm not meeting my coworkers out in the morning or anything, I prefer to drink decaf.
Decaf coffee?
Yeah, in the mornings, and I realized I
Ooh.
have caffeine sensitivity, and I
Oh,
only
okay.
realized this about a year and a half ago when I guess, like, well, probably longer than that, actually, I take that back. I think, a couple years ago, because I was drinking coffee on the daily, but I couldn't understand why, like, and I've got some form of ADHD, I don't know to what degree, but it was
You
off the rails.
know.
It was off the rails, and I was like, "I really need to figure out how to maintain this without medicating myself." And then I talked to someone, and coffee, if it's 100% caffeine, decaf is about 30%. So I get that instant buzz that I need,
Oh,
but not to where I can't focus.
interesting. I
So
didn't know
weird.
it was 30%. So
It
it's
wa
not like 100% caffeine free.
it's not 100% caffeine free, no, but it's got a significantly less amount of caffeine in it.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, I don't know. You said decaf, and I was like, no.
I turned the entire conversation on its side, I know.
I once accidentally did decaf for a day, and I noticed.
It took a while to get off of it because then even whenever I switch to, like, if I'm out with my coworkers and having coffee, and then, like, the next couple days, I'll feel headaches and stuff if I'm
Oh,
trying to get back into my routine, but it's fine, it's all worth it, and, you know,
yeah.
I get productivity either way, so works
That's what
out.
matters. Yeah.
All right, well, hello, everybody. Welcome to our conversation of coffee and beads and all things in between. I've got the incredible Miss Danielle Wickes with me, and it's been a while since we got to hang out.
It has. Time is flying. I don't know if it's the same for you, but for me, I blink and it's a month goes by. Like,
Well, yeah, and we got to talk a little bit one-on-one at Tucson in person,
yeah,
which was super special. But I think there was so much stuff going on that it's hard to be like,
it's busy.
yeah.
So busy all the time.
And I would say, like, the John Bead booth was kind of tucked away in a corner too. So even if you did have that
Yeah.
bit of privacy, there was still like stuff happening everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It was Tucson was different this year. It was very like the we were usually in that big room, at Colors of the Stone, but they
Yeah.
had us in that back room there. It was like they split off the wholesale show from like the cash and carry
And
part.
I didn't know if that was a typical thing or not.
It's like brand new to me. I hadn't seen it before. Yeah. I missed being out in the big area where I could, see more stuff and not just kind of be back there by ourselves. But
Well,
yeah,
maybe they'll switch it up again, and I guess as it depends probably on the vendors too, and who's moving in, who's moving out, sort of a
right.
deal. So I hope that goes planned next year too, as far as you guys being integrated with the big show. Because yeah, it was kind of just sad to be in like the private area. I felt kind of exclusive,
Yeah.
to be honest. I felt a little exclusive, but
There's that too. Yeah. Because there was a meeting space there, which was kind of handy.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So
So
yeah.
well, we've got lots of friends tuning in, folks that are joining us. Miss Joan is in the background. She's going to be flashing comments and questions that you guys might have and contributing to our conversation today. I know Danielle, we had talked about not doing a project, and then you turned up magically like a unicorn from the clouds parting and had this wonderful design that you put together. And I understand that you
Aw.
were going to show us how to assemble and work out the technique for that. And the thought process originally was also that you were going to teach me the same project, but after going through all of my things, I realized I have a few
Oh,
of the material. I have the seed beads and the silver silk, but that's about it.
I need to send you this cord for sure.
Yeah. I'm hoping you can talk about what that cord is in more depth when we
Yeah.
get to the project as well, because I'm very curious. And even whenever you were showing me the photo of the finished project on when we were talking earlier, it looks like you might have also used the jewel loom or
I used one that you sent me.
the silver silk
Is
loom.
this the jewel? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
There's jewel on it.
Yeah, Jules Avlar of well, her signature is at the bottom on the other end there. Yeah, so she and
Oh, yeah.
I was really it was her brainchild, and then my product that sort of inspired this beautiful and useful loom, which you can find on silversilkonline.com. All the links and information to the loom if you're wanting to grab one. But I'm so glad that you used this for constructing this design. So I'm really anxious to get to that. But since I'm pretty much unprepared, and because I went through
Oh.
all of my things looking for things to construct this design, I thought, um, well, basically, I got derailed. Like I had told you, I looked through my stuff and I was like, tiny other things that I could kind of look at. So what happened was I just ended up pulling out a few things that I might just show and tell later if we've got time. Um,
Yeah.
as you walk us through the project in between. But also, what I thought would be a fun idea when I grab my mouse is that I have a series of questions that I'm dying to ask you that's bead related of your journey toward jewelry making, being an influencer, being part of John Bead, just everything that you have contributed to the industry. I'm very curious to know. And I thought
Okay.
that would be like kind of a
That
fun take
sounds fun.
thing. Not so serious. It's going to be more of just us talking. So, how does all that sound?
That sounds great.
Awesome. Well, why don't we dive first into your project, and we'll get into the questions thereafter.
Sounds good. All right.
All right. So I'm going to solo your big mat out here first, and I'll let you take over.
All right. So the design is super easy and it's really fast. And I know we were saying we weren't going to do a project, but then I was sitting at my desk yesterday and I literally whipped this up in less than 30 minutes. And it was just a super, simple idea of putting on some lark's knots and some seed beads. And this, so I thought this was pipe chain at first, but it's not, right? It's leather inside, right?
Yeah, the leather chain is perfect. Like it is absolutely perfect for this project. And the reason for that is that the knitted leather chain offers an immense amount of structure. It is one of the more stiff silver silks in the collection of the 6 different ones that I offer. But because it is a little bit more stiff and not as drapey, the way that you've managed to weave the beads around with the lark knots, like it's a project made in heaven.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it seemed to be just a little bit more flowy. And so you can really get it to do the necklace thing.
Oh, Leanne brings up a good point. I'm gonna flash over to your section. I haven't
Yeah,
seen your setup in a long time. Because I think the last time we did a video together, you had sort of a folding wall, and now
I
you're
did.
gotten
Yeah.
way more official.
Yeah, it's well, the wall grew, and so I needed to actually put it a little further back because the one that I had wasn't big enough to store the entire planogram. So I got
Hmm,
these are from Home Depot, and they're actually mounted on the wall.
that
And
is
so it was
incredible.
like
That's such a great
serious construction, like putting them together and stuff.
It really is. You've got like a
Obviously, I
mini
had help.
store behind you.
Yeah, but it's cool because now I have everything I need for my regular weekly classes is behind me, literally. So if I forget something, it's right there.
Yeah,
And
and there's nothing better than the convenience of having all the materials surrounding you that you could just pull stuff off quickly.
exactly, it helps with designing too because it's all there laid out, so you can see what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's very cool. And so I grabbed, yeah, I have the findings that you sent me here on the ends.
Yeah, the single strand end caps are perfect for the leather chain. There's teeth inside of them that grasp onto the textured knit. And so whenever you press and crimp the end cap together, like you did there, the teeth will grasp onto that texture and it'll prevent it from, sliding out.
Yeah, that was perfect way to finish it. And I kind of decided what I wanted the length to be before I did the knotting onto it. And that's how I'm going to measure this one so I can save the rest for a bracelet, because there's a little extra here. And it's kind of like a collarbone length is what I was going for.
Yeah.
And so I did about this much, which let me grab my tape measure.
I bet that's close to 16 inches. Maybe.
Is it?
I don't know. I'm going to guess.
If you're right, I'm going to be so impressed, because that was just seeing that. That's so cool. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Look at that.
Look at that. I was 1 inch off though.
That's genius. That is so genius. Okay. I'm impressed. Yeah. And so I just went ahead and did I pre-measured it, and then I'm going to save this to do something else with.
Yeah. That almost looks like another piece that you can use for a second necklace if you're doing a collarbone length.
Exactly. Yeah. And so then I'm just finding the midpoint here and just kind of bring it to the center, and then just bring each of these out like that.
Okay.
And I didn't make it super tight because I wanted it to have the curve,
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
It's just kind of something to hold it in place.
Absolutely.
And so, and this cord is, let me show you in packaging. And I need to send you some of this, but basically what it is it is a waxed polyester thread, and it's considered like a micro macrame cord.
Oh, okay.
And you can get 3 colors at Michael's. You can get online a bunch of other colors. And so at goodbroadthread.com, it's there at the bottom.
I read Dude Thread first.
What's that?
I said I read Dude Thread at first, which
Dude Thread. It could be cool. It could be cool, dude, or something like that.
Dude Bro Thread.
Dude Bro Thread. That's awesome. I think the name is actually a family name that goes back. Oh yeah, see, it's here, 1870 or something like that. When I was talking to, oh goodness, I feel like I was talking to Emily. You do the Great Bead Extravaganzas. You know Emily and Kate from Bead Shop?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So they recognized this name when I brought it up to them. This was something they'd heard of before from it was a known medium that they'd used and were familiar with. So I'm glad it's being brought back from what I understand.
Oh, that's exciting.
Kind of cool. Yeah. And so, but for me, it's a new discovery because I hadn't tried it myself until we started carrying it. And so I like it. I like it a lot. I like the way it's kind of sticky. It's kind of like waxed linen and micro Ceylon had a baby.
Well, I wondered about that. Yeah, like because it said wax polyester, so I can kind of imagine the texture being pretty. What's the word for grippy? Like it can kind of.
Yeah, it's just like has like almost like a stickiness to it.
Yeah.
And so that helps. So like it makes your knot stick, if you're trying to work with it.
Well, so and really in your case, because you're making a series of knots that need to be tightly together, like that's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that improved my focus. Look at that. Check that out. I think it doesn't like the bead mat. Have you noticed that?
You, Cara. Yeah, it must not like the blue.
I think it doesn't. Okay, I'm going to move that away because I was like, oh my gosh, it's so fuzzy. Okay, let's go with that.
Still pretty good, loud and clear. While you're setting that up real quick, I'm going to ask you your first question if you're ready.
Yeah, go for it.
And then we'll talk about seed beads. Okay, so what advice would you give to your younger self about jewelry making with all the experience that you have now?
Oh, you know what? I would have given myself the advice of trying seed beading sooner.
Really?
Yeah, because I was afraid of the seed beads, and I thought it would take too long to learn, and my first couple projects didn't really work out, and I gave it up for a while and just stuck with the wire and some of the metalsmithing. And so I lost like what could have been 5 fun, pre-kid years of seed beading time.
So did you start with metalsmithing first and then you sort of went into seed beads? Like,
Yeah, yeah, it's unusual, I guess, to jump around like that, but that's what I did. It was just the friends that I had at the time. That's what they were into, and that's what I ended up doing.
amazing. I did not know this about you.
You did it? Oh yeah.
Did not. Anyway, please continue. Speaking of seed beads.
Oh, the back to the project.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So,
And then
well, I just got like a wingspan of the thread, and then I just have a bunch of size 8 and size 6 seed beads out. They're over here in the corner, like over there.
okay. Oh, there
I
they
do
are.
this
Yay.
sometimes during my classes, but because it does help to focus a lot. But I'm using 2 different colors of 8O, and then I have some size 6O seed beads, which I don't have the tube for that. These were just in the bag. I bought
Oh,
a
wow.
bulk bag for those, but
Love them. Do they have that Picasso finish?
they do. This is one I actually chose your favorite colors. So this was the turquoise Picasso 4514. It's a Miyuki,
Yeah.
and then this is the mustard color.
I have
and
that.
then I just grabbed a contrast color.
I think I have both of those. In fact, still like the mustard one is half full because I use it on things. I love that color.
Sounds like you need more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely need to load up on the seed beads.
Well, you know where to get seed beads.
Oh, absolutely. Hi, Sarah.
Oh, hey. Hi, Sarah.
I love this image of her and Rodrigo too on the bikes.
That's so cool. That is almost awesome.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you go ahead. You first.
Oh, okay. I want to ask you another question as you're.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
Okay, this one's a bit abstract. So how has your approach to jewelry making evolved over the years?
I think the biggest evolution now is when I'm designing with the thought in the back of my mind that can I write instructions for this?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So when I can't keep track of what I did in my own head, just experimenting, I already know the instructions are too hard to write. So I make it simpler. I tend to make a lot of my stuff more repeatable. And I'm always thinking about, is this repeatable? Could I do this again if I had to? Could I show someone else how I did this? Whereas I used to kind of wing it.
That's really sound advice for people that are wanting to break into the like company influencer stage of their life of beading. So the projects are unique, but they have to be instructional. Because then how do you recreate what you just made, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And it does kind of put a little bit of a limitation, but it also opens up like I like knowing how I did something for later, right? Now I have that for myself as well. So I can remember how I made something.
Absolutely. Okay. I'll let you continue.
This thread is about a wingspan. So like, it's really flexible, 60 inches or so. And I folded over one end of it. And I didn't totally measure this, but let's say it's like 10 inches or so. It's actually not, doesn't need to be 10 inches. It's just enough that you can hold on to it. Mm-hmm. So I just folded over one end, and here's the loop. And I'm just going to go ahead and make a lark's knot onto the silver silk.
I asked you earlier, I think I'm not familiar with what a lark's knot is. At least I don't think I am.
Well, so it is a way of joining a cord that you would bring. So you bring the loop or the ends underneath, and then you bring the cord up through it.
Oh, okay.
And so you've probably seen this a lot in macrame, which I've been doing a kind of a macrame kick. And so so that's actually the back of the lark's knot there.
I see. Okay, I've done that thousands of times, but I guess I just never knew what it was ever called.
And that's the front of it.
Gotcha.
And so the side that people think is the pretty side is usually the side where you can see the little hat. Well, that's my name for it.
I see the hat now. Yeah, it's like a little cowboy hat.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to find that midpoint again. So I'm going to bring that kind of right on there. And so once you have that done, then you're ready to get started. And so leave your short side over here. And then you'll just want to string an 8/0, a 6/0, and an 8/0. And the
You
cool thing
know,
about this cord is you can easily fit seed beads right onto it.
does the wax coating help with keeping it more needle-esque?
It does, yeah, it does. And then if you're having trouble with it, or if for some reason, like earlier today, I was working on something where I was putting 11O on here, like 11O seed beads.
Yeah.
Get something like, I don't know where to get this now. I got this Insta needle from a Kumihimo shop at Bead Fest in 2022.
Instant needle. Okay.
I can't find it again. It has a website, but the website doesn't work anymore.
Oh boy, that stinks. Okay. I'm sure there's a glue that's equivalent to that. I'll have to do some research. Figure that
Yeah,
out.
if you figure it out, let me know. I've been looking at it, and it's
Definitely.
starting to. it had
Melt
a
off the side.
two bottles, and the one next to it didn't make it for some reason. I'm not sure.
Aw.
Yeah,
You saved the last bit of it that is like the golden drops of it, I guess, left.
I know. I hoard it. I'm totally hoarding it. And so right now this end is just loose, but I've got I'm gonna lift that up a little bit. I've got the seed beads on there. And then what I do to finish the lark's knot now without being able to bring both ends under is first you'll bring the cord over.
Uh-huh.
And then you want to bring the end of it underneath the silver silk, and then go over this one on the way out. So we're going over this cord here.
Got it. Okay.
And when you pull tight,
So it's a P-shaped loop, but the cord is exiting like under the loop.
yes, yeah, exactly. And you just want to keep it on the side of the seed bead there.
Oh, okay.
And then to finish it, you just do that one more time, but for the second trip over it, you want to go actually under first. Remember you went over before, so now we're just going to go under it. And then it brings up a little loop over here. And then you want to just go over and then under the cord.
I see. Okay. So another P shape, but this time that the thread is sort of going over the silver silk instead of under.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, how organized and beautiful is that?
And it ends up just being like exactly what you needed. And so we just finished adding that section right there.
Gotcha.
And then I kind of already knew I wanted to do some kind of a scallop. So
Yeah.
what I did is I made a couple more lark's knots, and then I put on just a seed bead by itself. And then, what I'll do is I'll just make a repeat of that, and then we'll make one that's like maybe 3 to demo it. Do you think?
We could do 5 and I can ask you more questions.
Oh, okay. That sounds good. I can't remember how many I did on this. It was 2, 3. I think I did 7.
Oh, 7. Yeah.
That ended up
Whatever you want to do.
the center. Yeah, we'll see how far we get.
Okay. So maybe you can talk us through the single seed bead, and then because it's a repeat of stuff after that, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so what I did for this one is I started the first half of the lark's knot by going over.
Yeah.
So over it this way, and then under it and back up through the loop.
Okay.
And then we want to pick up another seed bead. I'm just going to string that on. Slide that down. And this is the second half of that knot, but we just put a seed bead on before finishing it. So we're going to go under on that side.
Oh, MJ is asking, so basically you're doing square knots with seed beads between the knots?
Essentially, yeah. I think the only difference between a square knot and a lark's knot, correct me if I'm wrong, is the with a square knot you're working with 2 cords, and in this case I've just got the one to work with.
Gotcha.
And so in this case I'm going to go and make one more knot just to kind of finish up the symmetry there. So I'm going to go over and then under it, and then just pull tight.
Oh, and then you're basically just rinsing and repeating the same stuff again and again.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so while you're doing that, can you share a moment when you faced a creative block and how you overcame it?
Actually, yeah, I've been having a lot of them lately. I don't know.
That's
There's
not
something.
good.
I think, well, so sometimes when you, because sometimes you need to feature certain things or work on certain projects because that's what's needed at that time.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
then I had a bunch of things that were like due to support like the new launches and stuff, and I enjoy it 100% doing that stuff. But for some reason, like afterward, I didn't have battery juice left, and then I had a bunch of classes due, and I couldn't come up with ideas. I was like stuck. So what I did, and I kind of like what you were doing. You were talking about this earlier. What works for me sometimes is to stash dive, even if it's materials that
Yeah,
I'm not. Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
therapy. It's my love language, really.
It is. And then also let yourself shop. Like, even if you're not sure what you're going to do with it, if something inspires you and you're in one of those places, it's okay to go ahead and just buy that thing.
I shopped way too much probably than I needed to for myself, but I put a lot of stuff back. Some of it
Yes.
I regret, but some of it I'm like, "Ugh, I'm glad I did that because I did not need to hoard anymore right now." And some of the stuff I wanted to hoard, I went ahead and like put it in the pop-up shop. So
Oh,
I'm
well,
like,
that's
that's a good
okay.
way to, de-stash some of this stuff. But I feel what you're saying. That's an interesting exercise though, for breaking that creative block.
It is, yeah. And sometimes you can rediscover stuff you made before
Hmm.
and something you loved, right? That you made a long time ago, and then just make another one and get your groove back. Especially like if sometimes when I'm trying new stuff and I'm failing at it, sometimes I just need some successes under my belt
Yeah,
before.
and it's funny because you can change up the beads of the same project and you'll get a completely different look out of it without even like changing the formula too much, other than of course the palette of beads that you're working with.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's okay to do that. That's something that like I was really being hard on myself with, oh, I didn't invent a new stitch today. I should just throw in the towel. And it's kind of like, hang on, it's okay to repeat the same technique and do it with different beads. It's totally okay to do that. And
Yeah.
and it will look brand new. And so that's another thing is just actually maybe taking the pressure off of it having to be like some brand new thing. Like it doesn't have to be. It can be oh gosh, a lot of people have said it can just be it doesn't have to be like the thesis,
Right.
right? It can be just a nice research paper. It doesn't have to be like
Yeah, it does not have to be like the all conclusive or like the groundbreaking or you've reinvented a new wheel kind of thing.
exactly. So if you're putting that kind of pressure on yourself, you got to take that off for a little while. If you're in one of
I
those.
think as designers, we end up doing that anyway, just because it's like we get bored or tired of our own, like we're ready to move on, basically, right? Instead of dwelling and rediscovering, our intention is to say, like, let me stop that and move on to something else that's going to, feel my groove. And so, like, I get where you're coming from and I suffer from that a lot of where I'm trying to like make something completely new when
Yes.
I can take content from my YouTube channel from like 3 years ago. And there's a lot of great projects that I have yet to discover of how it could be tweaked or reformatted in a way that would make it completely new without having to like come up from something from scratch altogether. Because if you can turn a bracelet into a necklace, then you're already on the right path to rediscovering something fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah. And especially like you've got a lot of great content that you can draw from.
So do
You know,
you. Are you kidding me? Says the queen of like Instagram and YouTube. Uh,
well, sometimes like if I don't have instructions written, I
mhm.
won't post it because I'm afraid, oh, someone will be kind of disappointed if I just say inspirational knee or something.
Yeah.
So I put a little pressure on myself for that too. Like, or I want to have decent instructions done before I share it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. They have to have clarity because otherwise it just causes more questions and confusion.
Exactly. But so you could just say, hey, I had this video from back in the day. You can go and watch it. And this is exactly how I did it. Just I changed these things and there
Mm.
it is.
Yep. And speaking of kind of figuring out where things need to be swapped up or if it needs to be redone or something, Um, this is, I guess, more of you're with John Bead right now. That you
Yep.
are their designer and their creative director. So I got to ask you, like, how do you balance staying true to your personal artistic vision, but still are needing to meet their particular demands?
It's interesting. I do get to have a lot of, I have some of a good role in getting to select the products that I'm going to be promoting. And recently I got to bring to life some designs for some findings that I had dreamt of making. So
Mm-hmm.
that is one way, is just, but I'm far away. So sometimes you got to kind of like, so they're in Toronto and I'm in Seattle. So I have to stay engaged, and that's work for somebody there, right? If somebody wants to involve me in like what's happening that day, someone has to send me an email or call me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just making sure that I help them do that part is usually one of the best ways, because it is hard when you didn't have like a say in what the product's going to be and you just got to come up with something. But
Yeah,
that said, I mean, I never met a beat I didn't love. So, I mean, you can always do something, right? There's always a way.
it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Like I am a sucker for stuff that I pick up, but it's hard, and I think that's how we just end up evolving our personal style is through sometimes through demand anyway. It sort of propels us in a path almost of like, okay, this is what I should be doing, but I need to still like add that personal touch to it that makes it identifiable or something that I'm 100% behind. And I can attest that your findings are absolutely gorgeous, and what
Oh,
a
thank you.
incredible opportunity to have John Bead produce your vision to life.
I was really excited about it. And it's, a bucket list thing for me to get to do that. So it
Yes.
was a happy day when those came out.
Um yes. I'm looking through. I have like so many things I would love to ask you. And hopefully
This is fun. Go for it.
okay, okay. Um this one's an interesting thing. So you work now for John Bead as their designer. And so you work essentially, you're not really on an island per se. Like you work with a team, and this
Yes.
team probably assesses your work and gives you sort of a guided path of where you need to go with certain things. So my question is not only from John Bead per se, maybe it's also the community and your friends, but how do you handle criticism or feedback of your work, and how has it shaped your growth as a designer?
It's tough. It's still, I mean, because this is such a like it's art, and artists are sensitive about their work, right? And so sometimes the feedback's always constructive that I get, but it's usually like, oh, this needs to be different, and here's why, stuff like that, right? It's hard. You just got to keep your perspective about it. But I have days, I'm a sensitive person, and I really care really a lot what people think, and I get scared about people being upset with me, and I might even be a worrier per se, you might say.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, I work with one in particular who's extremely he's happened to be my boss too, and he's definitely a lot more sensitive than I come across. I'm very blunt, but I'm also like aware that like the way that stuff is communicated needs to be a little bit softened or a little bit more, I don't know, in a way that is understanding and sympathetic to what they're experiencing. So
Yeah.
if everyone had that, I think that's like a special skill to learn. But I get where you're coming from too. Like what we do is so personal. I mean, how do we assess fashion without putting our, personal influence into it? You can't, because it's an extension of who we are.
Exactly. That's been the biggest challenge for me with this career transition is in my former life, the work I did, it was like, hey, if I did it correctly, it wasn't a personal thing, right? It was just like, hey, this is how everyone's supposed to do this particular thing, right?
Yeah.
And so feedback on what I could have done better wasn't about anything I felt emotional connection to. It was
Nice.
just like, hey, this is the feedback, and you're in the same boat with everybody in the room. Everybody in the room is getting their review that day, and it's just like that, right? This is different. This is something you would be doing anyway, even if you weren't being paid to do it, right?
Yeah, it's true because it sort of bleeds into other well, I guess what I'm trying to say is that yes, you'd be doing it even if you weren't paid for it, and it's sort of, I don't know, it's an outlet, right? It becomes sort of a stress relief. It becomes something that we
Yeah.
just need to do. So my next question is actually, how, in what ways has jewelry making influenced your other areas of your life, or vice versa, like outside of work?
Oh, yeah. You bring up a really good point because this is like my happy place. This is what I did to relax from what used to be the day job, right?
Yeah.
And then when it became the day job, it's kind of like they say, oh gosh, writers talk about this a lot. Like once they've shared their book, it's their story, it's in their head. They've written the novel, and they're very careful about when they share it because once you share it, it's like it's out there, it's gone. Like you don't have it as just your own private thing anymore, right?
Yep.
So I'm like that with art sometimes, and so yeah, I share things when I'm ready to show them because if I share them too soon or they're not done or they get criticized, not in a bad way, but just like, hey, it needs to be like this or don't use that item or things like that, right? Um, the spark is gone and I got to go back to square one for the
Mhm.
spark, or I got to dredge. I got to dredge through it, which is not, that shows in your work. See, we can't hide it. That's the other thing. It's my old job. I could hide it. If I was not feeling it, I could still get it done, right? Now I have
Yes,
to actually
we
be
all do
feeling.
a little bit of faking in the corporate world.
This is one field where you cannot do that because your art, it will show, right? Like it will come out.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely bleeds out anyways. So, um, that's amazing. You know, I wonder. Oh, I didn't know how far you were gonna go with the amount. It looks like you're pretty much finished.
I did it all while we were chatting.
That's amazing. So you're ready for that next row, it looks like.
Yeah. Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah. And for
Maybe.
this part, it's up to you if you want to do one more lark side knot to kind of finish it off. I on this one I did, but I don't feel like it needed to be there. Like I could have just turned right out of that first knot and gone back. See how it. Let me show you.
Oh, yeah, you're kind of weaving that in those in between ones, if
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
correctly.
So like I'm going to use this seed bead, the 80 seed bead that's kind of hanging out by itself. That's just a net point. So it's like netting kind of now.
Okay. Maybe you could walk us through one or two of them?
Yeah. So let's go ahead and finish the first one. So what I did on this one is for the counts. It looks like I did 7, 2,
Mhm.
3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7 worked for me. So I'm going to try that again. But just know that if you've used different beads or your spacing was a little different, you might just maybe on the first one experiment and see how many beads you think you might need to just very gently go around the front of that embellishment there.
I see, okay.
So this is how you can make it your own and just turn it into something that works with any beads that you've got.
Yeah, and I guess it really depends on whether the size 6 seed bead is substituted with something bigger, it sounds like too, like, that might also affect the amount of size 8 seed beads that wrap around it, for lack of better
Yeah, exactly. Like if you wanted to put a gemstone on that, I feel like a gemstone would be very beautiful.
Mhm.
You just might need to have more seed beads. That's all. And then that way it could become something, that's a little less dainty
Yes, yeah.
and it could be more statement that way. So let's see, I've got 4. Let's do 3 more. I might put a little of this Insta needle on.
Oh, yeah, and, and I wondered, I was gonna
It's
ask you that
working.
earlier, if you need to trim the cord, like, every so often to get it to where it's not unraveling at the tip, but I wasn't sure.
It's almost to that point now. Like I didn't treat the ends of this one, but you
Mm.
can see it's just now starting to do that. And I bet I did all this work without
Oh, wow. Could you
having
also
to
use
sweat.
beeswax or something to, like, keep
Oh
it
yeah.
together? I wonder if that would work.
Absolutely. I think that would be great.
Not
Oh,
that I
now I remember why I did a second lark's knot. I think the reason I did a second lark's knot was it's okay, it survived.
reset.
I dropped it. It was to make the spacing here match. So because you see there's like a little space in between, so that's why I did that.
Oh, gotcha.
It's easy to do. I can do it really quick.
Yeah, no worries.
So I'll just bring the beads through on there. I don't even have to restring those.
So you just do a half or you do a full one?
I'm gonna do a full one.
A full one. Okay.
Just coming along like that.
Got it.
I'm just gonna bring those over so they're not part of the knot.
Yeah, the last thing that anyone wants to do is restring all of those.
Right? I know. Let me just bring them over this way. I'll get those out of the way. There we go. Okay. So there's my second. Yeah, that's why I did that. Okay. So I do recommend doing that. Maybe making one more. See,
so
that way
one lark's knot, full lark's knot to finish out the seed beads, and then a second pair for making the spacing even. Okay, got it.
Yeah. And then I'm going to put on one more seed bead. I think I did 8 to start. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's 8, and then the rest of them all have 7. But you could do 7 or 8.
Gotcha.
I had to play with it just to get it perfect.
Yeah, totally. It's about that visual balance. Although with seed beads, you can't really even tell that there's an extra one in there just because they blend pretty well together.
Exactly. Yeah, that is true. It doesn't really stand out.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, so there's the first one. And so that's it. That's all you got to do is just string seed beads and then just go through the next single 8-ohs that are there. Oh, it's fuzzy, sorry. Camera's not doing that.
No, that's okay. It's reasonably visible. I think, yeah, if you hold it up for a few seconds, it starts to light.
There we go.
Okay, so we're good. All good. So this is a very special design, and you have created thousands of designs at this point, right? Like that you can't even comprehend.
I don't know. Maybe I have. I have to count.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to get at is like you have an entire catalog of design work under your belt. And for yourself, if you've made a lot of designs, or you probably make some for work and wear it personally, but is there a particular piece of jewelry that holds significant meaning to you other than your wedding ring?
Yeah.
And tell us why, or what it is and why.
I think a lot of my peyote and loom patterns are the most meaningful designs, that the ones that I get excited about and the ones I put on all the time.
Yeah.
Are like my my peyote stitch bracelets that have either like star patterns or little owls in them or cactus. Or I really love color blocking, but I always put like stars or little snow flurries across them. So those are, not only are they my favorites, but they're the ones that used to sell the best for me. And they're the ones people still ask for, like in my family. Yeah, they're like, hey, can you make me? I made one called Space Owl once that my aunt really loved. And she ended up giving it away to a friend and asked me for another one because her friend really wanted it. So she's like, well, I know where I can get more. And so it's on my list to make another one of those.
Well, hopefully she doesn't think you're an endless resource of owl bracelets.
Well, for her, I am. But yeah, for sure. That's one thing that's hard though now lately is because every moment is something, you know, it's like I want to do stuff for me and for my family, but I'm always like, I got to balance that a little more.
Yeah, totally. I understand that. Is there like a motif that you particularly like to stitch within the peyote patterns?
For a while there, it was like stars and cactus. I don't know why. For some reason, that was just something I was drawn to. And then I like to do trees, moons, and little like, oh, let me show you something cute I just made.
Yeah.
I'm actually teaching this in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
He's a little fox.
Oh my gosh.
I love him so much.
How adorable is that?
I know. It was like when he came to life, I was so happy. And then I've got a little owl too.
Oh my goodness. I'm just floored at how cute these are.
And I just let myself have fun with this. This was something where I was actually kind of blocked at the time, and I just went back to my tried and true stuff.
I love that. That is fantastic. so
No, it
sparkly.
worked. It worked in this case. Like I was like, hey, now I'm back.
um, that is it. So I'm hoping like later, let's link up and maybe you can get us a link to the class that you'll be teaching. And I'm sure the
Yeah.
Sophie's might be intrigued for that. That's just fantastic though. I love those little creatures.
Oh, thanks.
So
I should
cute.
send you one.
Yeah, well, yes, or even the pattern because I would love to make that.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
they're so fun. They're really fun.
that's interesting that you brought up a good point about kind of referring to the past about some of the projects and the patterns and stuff that you have and revamping or recreating them. But I'm always curious to know what is going to happen in the future and how stuff's going to change, like whether it's the industry or how stuff is communicated. You know, back in 2019, I didn't think that Zoom would be, or even StreamYard would be a part of my life. And now it's
Uh,
something I heavily integrate and depend on. And it brought us together. Yay.
same.
So
Yeah. No. Would you have
my
ever thought seed beading on a video? Like, I would have never thought that was possible. Would
well,
you?
other than the DVDs that I remember getting from like what was the show, Beads, Baubles, and Jewels, and that sorts of stuff, like but no,
Yes.
I would never thought that this stuff was at my fingertips now and the amount of content that's being produced. So my question to you is how do you envision the future of jewelry making and beading, especially with the given technology and stuff that we're developing? Like John Bead has
Yeah.
been definitely a proponent of like coming up with new stuff and being, highly imaginative. So what is your vision for the future? What would you like to see?
So like I have two dreams really. One is I would like to change the way I do instructions a little bit. Um, I want to use some more of the tools, not only to make it quicker to create things like the illustrations, but I also would like to be able to do more video illustration. So,
Hmm.
like showing thread paths. So right now, you absolutely know what I'm talking about when you say like that would be a lot of work. So someone would have to create probably 40 illustrations for 48 seconds of video,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And it would show the string going. People have done it, but oh man, that must have taken hours. But now with all the new tools coming up, I've been trying. Like, have you ever put in one of the chat bots, "Hey, make me a peyote stitch pattern with the following"?
I
And it's
was
not.
just going to ask actually, like how AI is going to influence some of the video animation content, and I could see that happening. I think that would be better for learning personally, and I'm on the fence about AI because
Are
it's
you? Yeah, I'm
very
curious what you think
scary,
about
but
that.
it's very very nice and powerful at the same time.
It
So
is. It's like I'm hoping it's more helpful. Like right now, it's
right now, it's
not
more
there. It's
helpful.
just
I
not
feel
there
like
yet right
than
now.
but
But that doesn't mean it won't be. But one of the things I wish I could do is I wish I could visually represent to people who aren't beaters ideas for things,
yeah.
like things that don't exist, like ideas. So this component, and then I might get a question, "Hey, why does somebody need that?" And I'm like, "Well, look, this is the way we currently do it, and here's the new way we could do it." And but explaining that to someone who doesn't, eat, drink, and breathe seed beads all day like I do is really hard.
Yeah.
And creating the visuals to support those kind of discussions is very difficult for me right now. And then if I'm asked to dimension it, I'm lost at
Oh my
sea.
god.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
So because I'm still a hands-on tinker kind of inventor, so
I hear
for me
you.
to just have it be produced, I need to have a medium to work in.
Yep. Yeah, I feel you. That's the best way to kind of get the point across too. But that's an interesting visionary way to go about it. So I'm very like wowed by your response to
You
that.
are.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, do
Um,
you feel like we need more seed bead findings in the world? I feel like we do.
yeah. Oh my gosh. There's billions of findings that yeah, and I think you didn't even hit the tip of the iceberg on some of this stuff. It's just you have just now begun the journey of tinkering with these sorts of findings that you've produced. But there's just a billion ways to go about it. And so for every bead that has been invented as well here recently, it's caused a surge for and the necessity for new types of findings. And I think
Yeah.
the idea is to get it to a place where it's more accessible to seed bead rather than being more work. It looks intricate like seed beading, but it's less work to put together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like tools that can take a job right now, we might spend 5, 6 hours creating. And to make that faster, can you imagine if there was something that could do that? Like, that
Yeah.
would be very cool. Like, whoever invented what was the looper?
Mm,
Um, things like that, tools like that, but for seed beading, right?
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I was also like stunned at a needle that had, I think it was a beetle on needle that had like a slit down between the needle that you can just put your thread through without having to find the eye of the, like, to me, that was a
Oh, I love
revelation.
those. I love
But
those
like,
so
I didn't
much.
realize and discover that till like later in life.
You did it?
And it's one of those things that I wish I knew about like years ago, but it
I'm
was
I'm obsessed with thread and needles, so it's like anytime there's something like that new, I want to be one of the first people to try it. I get so
super
excited.
welcome to it, totally. Um, I have to ask because of your not so new transition to creative director for John Bead, I think that that was an incredible move and you've just like flourished since then. But I know that you've had different paths in your lifetime of being a jewelry designer. And so I'm wondering, what was the most significant risk you've taken with your jewelry making career? And what became of the outcome of that?
Hmm. Goodness. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I was about to take a really big risk right before. So right after Tucson in 2020, I was going to get a small business loan and create my own seed beaded kit line,
Mm-hmm.
and I was looking into sourcing and things like that. And then I so you know Julie from Tiercast. She got
Yes.
me in
Yeah,
touch
yeah, of
with my
course.
current boss, Carmi, during the very beginning of the pandemic, and they were looking for someone to do video.
Oh,
And so I just got on the phone and introduced myself, and I wrote up a really quick report, like summarizing what I've done so far. And I had, for the longest time, worked for a blog. So I worked for A Beaded Life, just
gotcha.
doing like articles about seed beading, and I was mainly their tutorial person. So lucky for me, I had a ton of tutorial content to show. Yes, I can do video. Yes, I can do tutorials, and video was newish for me, but I had done a little bit. So that, I mean, I guess that in itself was kind of a risk, but I
Yeah.
had never, I didn't do the investing in the kit idea yet because the world was kind of a little topsy turvy at that time, and so I was like, oh, what do I do next? I don't know.
Yeah, it was very turbulent. So like, do you look back and say like you're glad that you didn't at that time make the investment because it would have been too risky? Or did you feel like I missed an opportunity because since lockdown happened, people were looking for activities?
It's hard to say. I mean, I feel like it was a win-win situation, right? Because one way I would have had my own kit line, another way I got to be on the Michaels lives, and I got to meet a bunch of great people at a great company. And like it feels like, do you want this flavor ice cream or that flavor ice cream?
I see. Yeah. There wouldn't have been a bad choice either way. It's just
Right,
turned out the way
exactly.
they needed to. That's
So
interesting.
true.
I'm learning so much about you from these conversations. uh,
It was kind of hard to let go of my own thing though, because you know how you own your own company, and this is your thing that you do, right? And it's
mhm.
that seems really cool to me. It's very, very cool. It's
Thank
like,
you. It wasn't always like that though. So like I had a previous ambition as well that um, I'm thankful that it did not work out
oh
because
really? Oh, I want to know about that.
yeah, I was going to open a local-ish service prior to acquiring Silver Silk that was going to be basically like a tie between in-person classes and a food truck. Like it was going to
Oh,
be a service that I could travel with beads and booze and like kits and everything and have these like fancy private classes in people's homes so that they can invite their friends, and like, you know, it just turned into a party. And then
Oh
at
my
the end,
gosh.
I would clean up and take all my tools and stuff with me, and they would leave with the project and leftover champagne or whatever. So um I was wanting to entertain that. I didn't have an audience built for it. And then Silver Silk fell into my lap, and I was also designing heavily for Jesse James Beads at that point in time. And
Oh,
so
cool.
I had to like let go of those two ideas that I, to your point, I cleaved onto the because it was so personal to me. Um, but I knew that if I did, I wouldn't see the success of Silver Silk. So I gave Silver Silk its fighting chance because it was on its last leg from the previous owners, and now it's, you know, it's an animal back into the world of bead making, and
Aw.
hopefully thriving. But yeah, that's sort of my like. I'm glad that that did not pan out because I think giving Silver Silk a chance was the right answer for me personally.
Oh yeah, and I'm so glad you did because oh my gosh, all this amazing product that we wouldn't have to use in our designs.
Yeah, and I think there's still an opportunity to resurrect the idea of having in-person classes here locally. I just, again, don't have that audience built. And also my time is
Right. Yeah.
consumed. But, you know, when I'm out of my environment and I'm in the moment, I'm like, yes, I could do all this. And then I get to the nitty-gritty of it and I'm like, dang it, I don't have any time to do anything. So
Oh
one
yeah.
day, one day, someday.
Time is the thing we all need more of.
We all need more time and more clones.
Yes, and more
Speaking
clones.
of clones, my last question to you. Um, what legacy do you hope to leave in the bead world, jewelry making for future beaders?
Ah, um, let's see. I hope to create an army of seed beaters.
We all want that, of course.
The whole seed beater army. Mostly, I would just like to demystify it because one of the reasons it took me so long to get started was every time I'd go to learn it, it was seemed really hard, and it there was just so many different tools, and there was you know I hope just to make it look easier and make everyone feel like, hey, I can do that. That's kind of my goal, is to have everyone think that it's something they might want to try.
I think you can accomplish that easily with the amount of findings and what you've contributed with John Bead backing you up and the beautiful patterns that you've been creating. Like you are in the stages of creating stuff like this where it's so accessible, this design. Can you hold it up to the camera a little closer?
Oh, sure, yeah.
You've made seed bead weaving like not so, you know, intimidating, just with macrame and like the leather chain. It's phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
And people will refer back to this sort of stuff over and over again through time and look back on this and just like be in awe, as I am.
Oh, thanks, Nealay.
Oh my God. And you create it. So how do you end it?
Oh, so to end it, so when you get to the end, I did one more lark's knot with the one that my seed beads were on. So I brought the seed beaded end over here and just finished up this knot here. And from there, you'll just want to tie a nice double knot with the starting cord and the end cord. And then actually what I did is I put I was able to get one of these embroidery needles to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of needled under the thread here on the edge. Let me show you on the finished one. See the knot there that I did?
Under it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I just needled under and trimmed it over here. You can kind of see where it's sticking out right there, and I just trimmed it. This one's a little cleaner. I was able to get it to look a little tighter for some reason.
Well, I always say like the camera and the lights and stuff, it's just different working in front of a setup than it is like to have your personal space, like where you can put basically the beads right up to your nose and see exactly what you're doing.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because you guys would see the top of my head under the camera.
Yeah.
But like in a few places, I let my thread cross itself. See, like in those spots. And if I was being really meticulous, I probably would move them over and make them line up exactly and stuff like that. But yeah, it just in the general idea, that's the process, and it came out really cute.
I'm going to add us back. Whoop, didn't mean to do that. Let me see if I can bring everyone back in. I brought in my camera for no reason because I feel like you have given us so much eye candy and so much technique.
Oh, I like what you have there.
Yeah, my like wrap bracelet that I found like from forever ago.
That's so pretty.
Thanks. Some jammies, but again, doesn't compare to the fun we just had. That's all the questions I had for you, which I thought like I just wanted to delve a little deeper rather than saying, what's your inspiration? I was like, let me think of some juicy questions here. So
those were some, thought-provoking questions. I was like, oh gosh, I never thought about that before. I had to really think.
No, that's amazing. Well, your responses just blew me away. But it was like, I just want to get to know you more as a person and like the true genius that is creating these beautiful designs. So I appreciate that so much. Thank you for playing along in my games.
It was super fun.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining in. It's been an hour, and so I think we're just going to wrap it up. And the storm that was outside of my window on like that side has passed. So it's like sunny again outside, which is
really?
fantastic. Yeah. I'm glad that I was a little scared because I was like, am I going to lose electricity? Like everyone's been hyping it up, which I think different parts of Oklahoma are experiencing storms, but I think we're in the at least where I'm at. So anyway,
you've got some sunshine to enjoy.
I know. I might go for like a little jog or something now that it's like.
Yeah, when I was talking to Joan and Colleen yesterday, they said you were on a jog.
I do. I love my evening.
And I was like, I want to go to jog. It's pouring rain here, so.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it'll like clear up.
I usually don't let it stop me, but lately I've been kind of lazy.
Yeah. Well, I hear you. Like I'm trying to not get into that pattern that I did last year. I'm trying to be like proactive. If I do it a little bit every day and not like, because my jogs are only like 30 minutes. They're not.
That's great. 30 minutes is great.
You can get a lot out of 30 minutes. Yeah.
For sure.
That's what I've been doing.
It helps with mental clarity too. It's just really nice. It does.
And I need some sun and like just getting some vitamin D out there at least helps the mood kind of elevate. Yeah. So, and beaters need to get up and stretch. I don't care what anybody says. Like, do not punch the back. Like, you all just need to get up and stretch.
I feel my shoulders. I have that same. Like, my shoulders need to they don't go all the way back anymore because I'm always like.
I do the same thing too. So I'm hoping that getting up and physically being active helps.
For sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Danielle. I love you so much. I love that you could join me this evening, and this was just so much fun to hang out.
Thank you for having me on. I had a good time.
Awesome. All right. Joan, can I bring you in for a second or no?
Hey, Joan. Is she here?
Sorry, she's dreading it.
I look like crap.
You look great.
You look nice.
Well, anyway, I guess that's it. Unless you ladies have anything else you'd like to say.
No, it's been so much fun, and I wish I could come up with. I mean, it's so simple, but it's so beautiful. I wish I could do that.
You can. Oh, you absolutely can. Yes.
No, I mean, come up with it myself.
I believe you can do that too.
She does.
Yeah.
Joan's got a great creative streak
she
always underplays. Always underplays. Like whether it's marketing related or beading related. Don't let this one fool you. All right.
I guess it's just different.
Oh, please.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.